In this episode of N-Scale Trains with Chris, we're going to turn this into this. Let's get started. Welcome to another episode of N-Scale Trains with Chris. What you're looking at here are the assembled tables. They were originally built for a bedroom layout which occupied a very similar space, roughly 10 by 11 feet. I do have more room here because there isn't a fourth wall. In the bedroom I had to allow for an in-swinging door and a closet door. So this allows for more table space in the new room, which is always a good thing when you're talking trains, isn't it? The new expanded space meant I had some gaps to fill in. My little friend there is Dave the Minion. This piece is new, but I didn't put the legs on this piece as it was short and is fastened to tables on either side. This table in the corner, the one with my coffee cup on it, is also new. When I build tables like this, I generally don't use dimensional lumber, though the legs are dimensional lumber. Dimensional lumber is never the size it's supposed to be. Instead, I buy a sheet of plywood and I have it cut to the sizes I want. These side pieces here are cut to 4 inches wide, and the tops are cut to the sizes I want, generally 24 inches wide by whatever length I need. That being finished, now I want to cover the wood in extruded foam, like this piece here, which will become the basis for scenery and structures in subroadbed. This is the section I'll be working on first. What you can see here is an 8 foot by 2 foot by ½ inch piece of extruded foam. Some people use 1 inch foam, but it's not readily available around here. You can get the shiplap, which has the staggered edges, but I prefer the straight edge, which is also called butt edge. I'll be gluing it down with carpenter's glue. I've cleaned off this area of any old glue or debris, and I drew a line at the 8 foot mark. This is the glue I will be using. As you can see, I've run a thin bead of glue along the tabletop, avoiding the seams between the tables. You don't need a lot of glue to hold the foam down, just keeps it from moving around. The other thing, of course, I've found in this hobby is I change my mind a lot about what I'm doing. And this way I can get a spatula onto here and break the bond, and then I can change my mind if I so desire. I've placed all these heavy objects just to press the foam down nicely onto the glue to get a good bond. I don't cut the foam at the table seams because if I do need to move the tables sometime in the future, I found it's easy to make cuts along the seams. So now we're going to let this dry, and that's all I can do for the moment. Now that the glue is set and the foam is down, you can see it's right here. It's not going anywhere. And this is the next area I will be working on right here. So this is the next area I'll be working on, and because these tables have been used in old projects, they're covered in paint like you see here, and old glue and bits of foam. So what I do is I take a spatula and I just kind of scrape the worst of it off. You'll see me doing that here. I've already done this part, so there's not much to see, but just gets the worst of it off. Doesn't have to be glass smooth, just so there aren't any bumps. So this is the next area where I'll be putting foam down. Right here. So I've just laid the foam down here, so just see how it lines up. You can see there's going to be a bit of a gap I have to fill in there, plus there's this area here, but the little gap, there's nothing really critical there, and that's going to be just scenery, so they don't really matter if they're pieces. The other issue is at the end here, I'm a bit long where the lift out is, so I'm going to have to trim this piece off. All right, I've drawn the knife across the end. I used it this drywall square that my wife bought at a yard sale. It's a great tool for this kind of large work. And I do a mechanical pencil line, which I think helps to keep the knife straight, because I have a horrible time cutting straight. I don't know what it is. But anyway, here it is, snaps off nice and clean, leaving me a nice clean edge. And if I've measured right, it should come right to the end of the table. And look at that. It does. So now I've put all my weights on here to let the glue set overnight. But before I carry on, there's one little job I have to do involving the lift out. So that's the next thing we're going to get to. So this is my lift out piece, and originally I thought I might try hinges or something. I couldn't make them work. What I ended up doing was these 4 pieces of wood, one here, here, and then there's 2 at the back as well, here and here, which hold it nice and snugly into place, and it fits very well. So the issue is that the room isn't square, the tables aren't square to each other. So this piece I knew wasn't going to be at 90 degrees. And so I ended up with this funny gap here. I tried to cut it on an angle, but it didn't quite work out. So I had this gap. And so what I ended up doing was I cut the piece of foam and glued it down. And now I ended up with this piece here, but I deliberately left this off. Oh, you can see it pop into place. It does pop into place very nicely. But I've got this gap here that I have to cut a custom piece of foam, and that's the next thing I'm going to be working on. I'm measuring the gaps, and at this end, I don't know if you can see that, but it's like 1 1/16. And this end is just a shade under 1 inch. So I'm going to have to cut like a wedge shape. I'll probably have to shave it at this end just to make it fit properly. So I want it to fit snug, but not too snug because this whole thing has to lift out. And if they're too tight, then it won't work well. Let's see how I do. And you can see it fits very nicely in the gap with a little bit of room there for lift out. And it just has to be glued down now. So the foam's all glued down. There's a couple of structure kits that I built a while back that are going to be on the layout. This area here is going to have a structure on it. Actually, be an old high school. This is all going to have street and structure. This is a little built-up kit I bought from Woodland Scenics. It used to be an IGA on the bit I'm modeling. And you can see here, I had to use a scrap piece to fill in a gap. There's, of course, but most of them are these solid pieces I bought. There's Dave the Minion to say hello. And this was the final long piece here, which came right to the end, worked out very nicely. And there's my fill-in, also built from a scrap piece. And there's my little custom piece, which worked out really well. So there it is. Oh, and over there, that large-scale G-scale locomotive is from a garden railway I had, and I'm getting ready to sell it. And you can see I've got a station put there, just sort of where it's roughly going to be in the end. And you can see some of my N-scale locomotives right there. And the next thing I'll be doing is starting to build a grade, which will be in this section right, you see over to the right here. I'm planning to have continuous running around the outside of the layout, which I'm going to elevate to 4 inches just in case anything goes wrong with the trains back there. So I'm using this Woodland Scenics 4% grade kit, which I bought at my local hobby shop, Tiny Railroads. And I've used these kits before. They're wonderful. So that's the next thing I'll be working on. I've started to lay out the first part of the grade on this, which has to go around a curve. The issue I had with this stuff is it's wide because it's really made for HO. And I don't need all that width for N scale. And I was concerned about some of the clearances between the grade and structures and things. So I thought, well, what I'll do is I'll cut it, see, and because I only need like half the width or less. So what happened was I tried to cut it. It came apart, as you can see there. So that's not going to work. Maybe I could cut it after it's glued in place, but I think I'm just going to leave it. And I had a look at my plan. I can deal with the clearances. I don't think it'll be a problem. And so you can see I've pinned it into place with these dollar store pins. They're great. There are official pins you can buy, but these work. And that's pretty much it for now. I got to glue this in place, but I'll pick you up. This is as far as I've got for now, and I'll see you on the next one.